Hi, I'm Melissa, your free range psychic. Today is May the 2nd, 2021, and yesterday was the first day of May. How exciting! Today, I wanted to acknowledge and celebrate the wonderful congressional address that Biden gave. It was amazing to me from the beginning to the end. It just gave me chills, and I stood up and I clapped and I cried, and I wanted to just have a memory of it, just to preserve it for us. The actual reading I'm going to do is on Don Jr. And I initially started out doing a little bit of a collage on him, but I thought, nah. I'd rather just relive the wonderful congressional address that Biden gave for his 100 days in office. But I will do the reading on Don. And it's just going to be a brief 3-card reading using the Gilded Tarot by Ciro Marchetti. And we again have an oracle card from the SacredDestiny Oracle pack by Denise Linn. So the first card that I got, or that my guides chose for me actually, is the Devil. So this has a lot of complex meanings. The guides started out telling me, or really, they guided me to, of course, Donald J. Trump, Donald Jr.'s father, and their relationship. And the relationship is as such, and this is typical with many sons of narcissistic fathers who, to earn the love of, and it's really earning the love of the father, they have to become like the father, kind of carbon copies, or a carbon copy, sorry. And also to please their father, they must do whatever the father wants them to do. And sometimes it's an unspoken request, but they will go out of their way to do whatever it takes to get love from the narcissistic father. And the father uses love as a transactional reward. So it's not really love, but it feels like love to the son, because if the narcissistic father is pleased by the son, or even just, it doesn't even have to be being pleased. It could even be just keeping the son within his orbit, his circle, his intimate, immediate circle, then that's the reward. The punishment, should the son displease the father in any way, is discarding the son. So the son is now exiled from the circle. And then beyond that, the father could smear the son, meaning say terrible things, even very untrue things about the son, to anybody who will listen, and creating a situation where the son is really out there in Siberia, so to speak, with no recourse. And he will even leave him out of the will, or cut off funding, whatever that is, and stop his opportunities. So there's a lot of inherent implied threat, but the threat, and I'm sure Don Jr. has seen this, look at Mary Trump's situation, has seen this carried out. So this is really a survival, the survival is at the core of it, which, can feel like life and death on some level. So that's how the narcissistic father gains control over, their children. But I'm specifically talking about the father-son relationship here. So this is describing that. So if your father is the orange devil, you have to find a way to represent him, to morph into him, to please him. and the father is always in a dominating position over the son. So you can really see that with Don Jr. You can see how sycophantic he is to his father, how desperate he is to please his father, and how he's lost whatever his individuality is regarding his own personality. Where is that? It also, though, my guides say, is this card is also alluding to Donald Jr.'s proximity and involvement with the Freedom Caucus and with Matt Gaetz and also Rudy Giuliani and Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Joel Greenberg. Russia, of course, because, remember that Don Jr. was the conduit between his father and the Russians when they first came in and had that meeting in Trump Tower. Was it 2015, to talk about how the Russians could help swing the election for Trump? Is it the consigliere? Is that what Don Jr. is? I'll have to look up the meaning of that word, but he is the guy that's going to make it happen. He's his father's fixer, actually. And that also is his it's not even bifold. It's so multifaceted, because his father gives him the keys to wealth, to power, to prestige, to celebrity. But at the same time, really, Don Jr. is a slave. He's got really nothing on his own. So he lives the life of even though he's not married now, right? He's divorced, and he's with his wonderful girlfriend, Kimberly. I say that sarcastically. That was implied in my tone, right? And he's, a wealthy ne'er-do-well, really, who likes to kill endangered wildlife for sport, usually wildlife that's probably been drugged or corralled or something. So this is implying all these things. And there's more. Sorry. So my guides are saying that with the Gaetz gate, and which is more and more is coming out, that confession. I put that on a community post, that confession that Joel Greenberg made to Roger Stone to somehow buy him or get him a pardon with, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars cash. That admission that there are underage girls. Well, think about Don Jr. Don Jr. hangs out with the Freedom Caucus, right? He's tight with the Freedom Caucus, and they need him as a bridge to his father. But there's something about that relationship which is very much like a fraternity. So you think about Gaetz. Gaetz is forever a fraternity guy, right? That's how he rolls. That's where his mind's at. That's kind of like developmentally where he stopped his emotional and probably cognitive growth at that point. So I also see it like the mafia too. But the point is that in a fraternity, everybody does what everybody else does. And if you're gonna, you're even expected to commit infractions or transgressions or whatever that is, so that it bonds you. It bonds you together by virtue of the crimes that you commit together. And I believe that is the kind of relationship that they all have with each other, the men I'm talking about in the Freedom Caucus. So that if there's going to be an orgy of sometimes I call them the GQP, but the GOP, the Freedom Caucus guys, they're all going to be doing it together, because it is a fraternity of blood brothers. And I believe that John Jr., to maintain his involvement with these guys. He's taken part in all of this. I'm just saying allegedly, and this is what my guides show me. So he is caught up in the Epstein-like actions of Greenberg and Gates and the others. And there are a lot of GOP involved here. And I also believe that Don Jr., who allegedly has a big coke habit, he always seems so high to me when he's making his little videos. I believe Joel Greenberg might be the procurer of a lot of drugs for these guys. Maybe that's one of his roles. It just makes sense. But my guides show me that that's a big possibility. And so Greenberg, to lure people like Don Jr. into his circle, not just offering young girls, but a lot of drugs. And Don Jr. being susceptible to that kind of thing, but also wanting to belong, very, very much to belong to these people, is indulging, throwing aside his worries about breaking the law. Who cares about the law anyway? His father's the king. Has very much been a part of Gatesgate. Yeah. My guides show me the Five of Wands right now for Don Jr. And so this, they said, is fractioning within that group of not just the Freedom Caucus, but you'll have Roger Stone, you'll have Giuliani, you'll have all the outliers and a lot of people we don't know about, whether that potentially that marijuana entrepreneur, people like that, beginning to start distrusting each other because they see that Joel Greenberg has flipped, that the FBI has his phone, and the FBI has information like that also on Giuliani regarding, well, for that ostensibly it's the Ukraine, but I can't imagine that Giuliani's text messages and whatever don't catch a lot of people within that pond or of his circles, and they're getting nervous and they're worrying about what the FBI is going to find out on them and who's going to flip on who. Now, of course, we know that we believe that Don Jr. has a pardon, but Matt Gaetz doesn't have a pardon as far as we know, and Jim Jordan doesn't have a pardon as far as we know, and the other players. And there's a lot of pressure now because the FBI is on them. I think since Garland came in, boom. I mean, it's just on. The pressure is on. So just like in any crime, I want to say family or organization, when that starts to happen, you do see this division arise because nobody trusts anybody else at this point. Everybody's trying to save their own butt. In the future, not a surprise, the Tower. So the Tower is the FBI really hitting hard this cabal of people who, and I can't help now associating the Tower with the hit on the Capitol January 6th, with Russia, with Gatesgate. And it is like Epstein, this Joel Greenberg thing. My guides tell me, and I'm going to say this allegedly, that girls were probably as young as 14. It just, Joel Greenberg really wanted to do the Epstein thing. So I'll get you what you want. What's your preference? I'll get it for you. And this is really going to ensnare so many people. But this is Don Jr. being caught up in all of that, falling out of the tower. His butt, again, third time I said butt, sorry, is exposed, meaning all of this stuff, secrets are exposed that are embarrassing and possibly involving sex and involving drug use. And of course, for Don Jr., Russia, God knows, whatever they were into, he was into, because wigga wigga, right? That cue thing, whoa, where we go one, we go all. They really are that kind of group. And I just always harken back to them all growing beards. Do you remember when they started to all grow beards? Like, why the heck did they start doing that? But that was, I believe, a show of cohesion, of unity, where they all belong to the same group. And it's such a travesty, because the Freedom Caucus on the surface is like, oh, we're Christian values, family values, and here they are, like, so corrupt. So that's the tower for them and for Don. Whether or not he goes to prison or to jail, he does have the pardon. I think there's a potential, but it's more not so much him going to prison, whether he goes or not, but being exposed, super exposed, and possibly him flipping on his father, maybe. Let me ask my guides here. Oh yeah, my guides say possibly yes at some point, because he'll be so terrified with everything, because his pardon doesn't cover him for everything. I think it has to cover you for crimes that you potentially were committed specifically. And I know they talk about a pocket pardon that, like, pardons you for every single thing you do now and in the future, in the past. I don't know how valid those are. I honestly think that they would be easily overturned. So that is my reading on Don Jr. And he's like a hollow husk of a human. At this point, I will read you your oracle card. I love these cards, but there's so many beautiful decks out there. I keep on thinking, oh, I can't buy any more, and then I see a deck and then I buy it. But I've had this for a while, a good while. I just decided to bring it out. The card that my guides chose is this card. Healing Chaos. Spiraling Tornado. The sacred landscape wants you to know, when you receive this card, it acknowledges potential chaos or the need for chaos as an activator for profound healing. If your life seems chaotic, know that it has an underlying energy of healing. You are being healed on all levels. You are a healer. Alternatively, if your life is calm to the point of becoming stagnant, this card suggests that it might be time to create a bit of chaos in your life. It will activate healing. Do the unexpected. Mix life up a bit. I want to remind everybody that I am available for personal readings. I read anything in the past life or past lives, anything in the present, including past and future. I love to introduce you to your guardian angels, and I am a medium. My contact information is below in the description box and at the end of the video after the musical interlude. I hope people have checked out, or people who want to anyway, who enjoy the musical interludes. I hope you check out the playlist that I created. It's under Melissa's Free Range Psychic Musical Interlude, and I think the link is in the. If I didn't include it, I think I did include it in the description box already. But if I didn't, I'll add it. Please enjoy your day or your night, wherever this finds you. I love you. You guys take care, and I will be back next week. Okay, see ya. Love.